if you want something, you have to ask yourself why you want it. Does my soul, does it feel like my soul supports that? Move into the energy of the having and presto change up. So now your intuition turns on, not when you're freaked out. Oh my God, I don't know what to do with my kids. They hate school. The intuition ain't going to happen because you're too afraid. And when you're afraid, you leave your body. Your intuition turns on when you move into soul desire and acceptance of that desire. Then you can get intuitive information.
Hi there, conscious parents. Before we start today's episode, it's Carrie here, and I wanted to reach out to ask you guys for a quick favor. As a follower of our show, we would love for you to give us a 5-star rating and leave us a review. It can be just a few words, that's it. And it really goes a long way with us, with the podcasting community on Apple or Spotify. So thanks so much for tuning in, and I'm so excited for you to hear today's message. Happy listening. Hi there, and welcome to Heart Parents. I'm Carrie. I'm here with a special guest today, and I'm super excited to introduce our guest today is Colby Wilk. He was originally a counselor and coach, and he recognized that there was a power beyond traditional therapeutic methods that could shift what seemed unchangeable. So, the very core of a person. Through intuitive healing and mentoring, Colby partners with people in their journey to be fully alive. And Colby, when I first met you, you had us all do some deep breathing exercises, which I was in my monkey mind, and I was like, wow, this person has really helped me to ground right away and connect to myself. And it was a really neat experience right off meeting you. Uh, so Colby, thank you so much for being here today to kind of dive into the childhood side of things, which is probably a little different than what you normally connect with, I'm guessing.
To some extent, I mean, my focus is on working with people to hear their souls.
Mhm.
I've worked with young people as well, but yeah, let's talk about young people. Where shall we begin?
So I was thinking, I don't know if you were in tune, if you were conscious when you were a child, but I was wondering, what did your childhood experience with all of this look like?
My, gi- well, I am gifted, right? I can sense what's true. I sense subtle connections. I sense what's hidden.
Mm,
And so I built a career on that. And it's become about helping people to hear their soul, what their soul is inviting them to do. Because it's my impression then that when you know what's yours to do, life goes a lot easier.
mm,
And you know what you're doing. When I was a child, I was raised in a pretty dysfunctional house. And in order to feel into whether it was safe to go downstairs, I would extend and sense, what was going on with my family. So I knew how to approach them if I were to go downstairs.
mhm.
So that gave way to a strong empathic sense, being able to feel what somebody else feels,
Yes.
which a lot of people have to some extent or another. The way I developed my empathy was from a dysfunctional place because I was trying to keep myself safe. And so the way I did that was to extend
Mm,
so I could feel another person. The downside of empathy is that you're used to tuning into somebody else as opposed to yourself.
yeah.
And so it creates a separation from the self. And you wind up taking care of other people in the hope that they'll take care of you.
Wow.
There are a lot of people running around thinking that empathy is such a great thing and that empathy is a sign of spiritual development, which I guess it can be. But in my case, no, it wasn't. My empathic ability is very, very strong and has been a problem in my life, like being able to go places and being around
Mhm.
people and not
Yeah.
get overwhelmed. So I've had to learn how to manage that. What usually brings people to God, the divine, whatever you want to call that, is pain, is suffering. Usually people who don't suffer don't go to God. It's not
Yeah.
a thing for them. Usually. There are a few. So if you have learned to be empathic, to take care of other people so that they will not harass you or they'll take care of you, then you're prone to giving yourself away.
Mm.
So my journey has been, I got really good at tuning into other people, giving myself away, and I've learned over the course of time how to stay present with me, how to tune into myself, how to
Yes.
tune into my inner divine. So yeah, as a child, I was like the school psychologist. People drawn to people who are empathic. They're really
Mhm.
drawn to us.
Yes.
We understand them. And people like to be understood. And then there are those who like to give their burdens to you.
Mhm.
There's no shortage of people who sense that you're empathic and want to dump.
Yeah.
And so, as an empathic child, if that's your thing, if that's what you came with or learned, you have to learn to say no. No, I don't want to listen to you right now. No, I don't want to care about you right now. I want to take care of me. A lot of spiritual types learn early on to take care of other people
Mhm.
and hold it as godly when it's really spiritual bypass. It's really giving themselves away.
Mm.
So long answer to your question.
I love that. And my son is definitely, both of my kids are empath kids. And as you're describing yourself, I'm seeing so much of what I grew up with. My name's Carrie. I always took care of everybody around me and had this motherly energy. That was how I was. And absorbing all of their energy and not knowing that I was absorbing it and taking on their pains. Do you have any skill that I would be able to teach my son with the empath childhood that they're growing up with that you found maybe might work for kids?
There's a difference between psychic development and personal development.
Mm.
Psychic development is learning how to manage your skill set, empathy being a skill set, and potentially expand it. So, for instance, I'm empathic, and now I've learned how to be visual, how to be auditory, how to sense into the future, right? So, from that place, that is very different than personal development, which is knowing stillness, peace, love. Two very different skill sets. A lot of psychic people think they're more personally developed than someone who's not psychic. It's not true. It's just a skill set.
Mhm.
So, for a young person who's empathetic and getting overwhelmed by their empathy,
Yes. Yep.
they first have to recognize I am overwhelmed, because a lot of times they don't know that they're overwhelmed. They just know they don't feel good.
Mhm.
They have to put a word to that. Okay,
Yeah.
first skill. I recognize I'm overwhelmed. Okay, great. One. When did you get overwhelmed? What happened just before?
Mhm.
Great. Okay. So you were at lunch, little Henry or whoever,
Mhm.
and you were having a good day. Everything's going, and then little Doris sat next to you and started to cry.
Mhm.
Okay, good. When did you start feeling bad? Well, when Doris came up to me, I felt good. When Doris was crying, I felt good. And then when someone made fun of Doris, I felt really bad. Okay, great. You felt really bad when someone was victimizing Doris. Yes. How come you felt bad? Because I wanted to say something to the person who was bullying her and I didn't. Oh, okay. So when you don't say what's true for you, little Henry, you feel bad. Great. And then we would talk about, so that's not an empathy problem,
Mm.
which is often confused with a personal voice issue. Okay.
Mm,
Let's
okay.
just say little Henry said, I felt bad. Doris came up to me and told me all this stuff about her mother and whatever, and her little sister. And then after that, I listened and I listened and I listened. And then when she was done, she felt better. She said thank you. And I felt exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Now the questions are, did you want to listen to Doris? I felt like I should, is
Mm,
usually the answer. Did you want
yep.
to? Okay,
Okay.
great. You want to, because when you don't do what you want, your system gives you feedback. And so now it's about teaching Henry to honor what he wants and what he doesn't want. The problem
Mm-hmm.
is not empathy, the problem is following his desire. Okay, third issue. Henry, so when did you feel bad? When Doris came up to me and talked to me. Okay, and everything. Okay, great. And then did you want to talk to her, Doris? Yeah, I care about her. I wanted to be there for her. And
Mm-hmm.
afterwards, you felt really bad. Yeah, okay, great. When did you start feeling bad? Well, kind of 3/4 in, I felt bad. And you didn't say anything? No, because I thought she was too emotional. Okay, little Henry. So you chose her over you.
Okay.
Oh, isn't that interesting, Henry? So then that would
Yeah.
be the, okay, great. So let's say because the thing is, a lot of empaths want to hide in the victimization that they can't control what's going on.
Yes. Hi there, Changemaker moms and dads. It's Carrie here. I hope you're enjoying today's episode. If there's any pieces of this episode that resonate with you, we would love for you to share it with a friend. A little helping hand goes a long way. We appreciate you tuning in, and here's more.
That life is happening and they're just too sensitive and should hide in the house away from people. And
Mm-hmm.
I spent 3 years in the house, by the way, being unable to go outside because my
Wow.
empathy was too much. I know about this a lot.
Yeah.
So a lot of empaths want to blame that the world is too chaotic and they would like to live in Mr. Rogers' neighborhood where people are nice. And why aren't people nicer? Well, that's not the world we have, little
Mm.
Henry.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to learn, empaths have to first learn to acknowledge their desire.
Okay.
When they don't follow their desire, that is their soul talking to them, they get immediate, for the most part, feedback. So one benefit of being an empath is your system is highly sensitive.
Mm.
And so usually empaths don't come down with horrible, horrible diseases
Mm.
because our systems are way too sensitive. We know way in advance of the cancer something is off.
Yes, that's
And so
true.
we start changing our diet, we start exercising, we go to practitioners. Other people
Yes.
who are more thickly built don't get that feedback. So they wake
Oh.
up with cancer one day. Empaths generally don't because
Mm.
we're so sensitive. We're getting feedback. We're getting feedback. We're getting feedback.
Mhm, mhm.
Not so they can't, you know what? Okay. If Henry comes home after being hit by Doris and takes Doris's stuff home, there are simple things to do. And there's not one answer for all
Sure,
incursions because
sure.
different incursions are different.
Yeah.
So you could take baths,
Mhm.
and those baths can consist of lemon and coffee and sea salt and olive oil. You could do sprays, homeopathic, plant essences. You can douse yourself with sage, smoke, cedar, sweetgrass. You could go into a field,
Mm,
take your shoes off. You could sit by a large tree. You could ask for assistance from the elements. Lots and lots of different things to do.
mhm. Yep.
Lots of things. So, not one answer, but what we don't want to do is with an empathic child is convince them that they're fragile.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
what we don't want to do.
Yep.
We want to, this is an invitation to track yourself. The universe, the soul is demanding, well, not demanding, but your soul, empathic person, is inviting you to have a connection with it much more strongly than the average Joe.
Mm-hmm.
That's the invitation.
Yes. Yep. I love that thought of empowering and not hindering them or making them feel like they need to hide or they're too emotional or too, that's my focus with my kids, is trying to empower them and finding like the superhuman qualities that we possess with being an empath.
What do
So
you mean by that, the superhuman quality?
so like when you were talking about we don't come down with these huge diseases because we're in tune and we're finding those. So we talk about how food can taste. So my kids, we talk about like we're extra sensitive. So we can taste food stronger than most people. My husband and I describe ourselves as foodies. When we went to Kauai recently, we were going around, driving around, finding all the food places that taste amazing. And so we focus on the positives that come with being a sensitive empath, highly sensitive person, gifted person. We're
So,
focusing on those and we're trying to empower our children instead of, the world likes to look at a gifted person, a sensitive person, and put negative connotations on it. I've been told my whole life, you're too sensitive. You take on too much energy from other people. Like it's looked at as a negative version.
right, so I would suggest you stop using the term sensitive.
I know. I'm trying to figure out. I have to describe things to my children. I have a 6-year-old and a 9-year-old, 6-year-old girl, 9-year-old boy. And we have to describe these things because they're going through it and they're living it. And, society is not nice about it. They're not going to be like, oh, look, I can see that you're feeling overwhelmed right now. Let me give you a hug.
Yeah,
Society's not like that.
I would stop telling yourself that as well. It's not helpful to see society as the way you're seeing it. I'll tell you a story.
Okay.
As a highly sensitive person, I'll use that terminology.
Sure.
I have a lot of food sensitivities, allergies, sleep issues, right?
You're
I don't
describing my house. You're describing my house right now. Yeah.
like I have a lot of that. And
Hmm.
if you date me, right? Not that you're married and I'm gay. If you date me, guys love the sensitivity and my insight and my wisdom, but the other side of it is high sensitivity. And I can't eat a lot of places. I can't sleep a lot of places. And I have to, I have a lot of routines and they get the edge of that, right? They love the wisdom and the perception and all that, but the other side of it. So I have a hard time sleeping. So just generally, so I take my supplements and things like that, and I travel with my pillow, right? And I go to a hotel, and which is always, a cluster. And then I went to this hotel, and I'm like, Jesus. So I went to, it's hard. The mattress was as hard as hell. So I went to Costco and I got myself a topper, right? Beautiful foam topper. So now I travel. I'm going to Canada this weekend. I travel with a pillow and a topper, like queen size topper. Okay. Queen size topper. And the hotel sees me lugging in this topper,
I
right?
love it.
Like, I'm thinking, okay, I'm a lot of work, I'm high maintenance, right? A lot of people can't deal with me, very negative, as
Mhm.
opposed to I treat myself very well.
Yeah,
As a sensitive person, we are compelled to treat ourselves well.
you
That
deserve
is
it.
very different. That is a very different paradigm that I'm high maintenance and I have to do these things to survive a chaotic world.
Okay.
I am somebody who honors myself by treating myself really well. And so I eat really well,
Mhm.
topper and a pillow. And
Yeah.
why don't I do these things? Because I believe in treating my body well, me well. That's it. Give
Yep.
up the victimization. Oh, poor me. I'm so sensitive. Ooh. No,
Yes. Yes.
it's a way of honoring myself.
Yep.
And so when little Henry comes home overwhelmed, he didn't honor himself that day.
Mm.
That's what happened. He did not honor himself.
Mm.
he got an indication that he should have left the conversation with Doris and didn't listen to himself. Because he might have been afraid what it would have looked like, how Doris would have, that people won't
Yes.
like him, make fun of him. And so he is the empath is being put in the position to learn the soul lesson to honor himself. Because perhaps if he had left that conversation with Doris, he would have made a new, very important friend,
Mm.
won the lottery, or something. The universe is moving, trying to move him. And he's like, no, I'd rather be liked.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I'd rather people not make fun of me. I want to, but the universe is moving us. Empathy. I have a couple of clients like this. Lovely people. Empaths are lovely, and they know how to be caring and sympathetic and funny, usually attractive.
Well, thank you, Colby.
Sure, absolutely. But they suffer. They suffer a lot. They suffer a lot physically. They suffer.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, empathy, also on the other side of it, has to do with pushing things away.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you grow up empathic and you're overwhelmed and you don't take what I'm saying, which is, where did I not listen to myself? Then you conclude, I need to push things away. I need to push Doris's energy away.
Yes.
I need to break up. I need to mirror myself. I need to push away. And the pushing away further causes problems, causes your system to create blocks. Because pushing away creates an energy vortex. So your energy no longer flows the way it should. It's got to go around these blocks. And so empathetic people tend to also suffer from exhaustion,
Yes.
tend to suffer from PTSD or
Mm-hmm.
fibromyalgia, this type of thing.
Mm.
They suffer because they're so used to pushing things away because they're like, I'm sensitive. No, no, no. And the no creates problems in their system.
Are autoimmune in there too?
Autoimmune's in there too. Now, I'm not one of these new age people saying this is this, blah, blah, blah,
Sure.
blah.
Sure. I was
I
curious.
have themes with people.
Mm-hmm.
Empaths are usually not, they're usually like, I'm too open. I need to shut down.
Yeah.
I need to close down. And that's exactly what you don't want to do.
Yep.
You want to move it even further. You want to honor yourself. Okay, do I want to be doing this? Am I called to be doing something else? And even open further. So your system doesn't have to block, because if you're trying to block things off, your system's going to get blocked
Mm-hmm.
and have a hard time running energy. And you get sick.
I have a follow-up question. You said
That's your follow-up question.
not to go with sensitive. We need some type of verb or we need some type of vocabulary words to describe these things to people, right? So not saying sensitive, empath, is that a better word? There's no negative piece to that? What do you use when you are talking to people?
Anytime you give somebody a name, it
Right.
gives it power.
And
And
also
so,
you're in a box of it, right?
yeah,
With that
I'd
name.
rather describe like, I am really invested in keeping track of myself.
Mm, love it. Yep.
And let's just say my conversation with Doris, this really doesn't feel like it's in concert with me right now. And so I'm going to take my exit.
Okay.
Or Doris, this doesn't feel right, good to me right now. So can we change the subject? Not I'm
Yep.
sensitive. Sensitive is the way it's being framed as an excuse. It's a diagnosis,
Mm,
not helpful to anyone.
yep.
I'm really interested in keeping track of myself.
What
Done.
what about the word conscious? What are your thoughts on that?
What does that mean? Conscious. What does that mean?
Staying in focus with yourself, staying like not pushing away, staying connected, staying in the empathic, staying open, right? That's what I think of. I know a lot of people use the conscious change makers has been a big one.
What
I'm
does that mean?
curious.
I'm a change maker? What
Have
does
you
that
heard
mean?
that?
No, like I need to
You haven't
like
heard that.
change maker, like
Okay.
I'm a person carrying a sign, like free this person or
Yeah.
send them.
Yeah. Change. So
Why
for
do they want to change
example,
everything?
so
Why do
like
you want
my
to change
kids were in a traditional school setting and it wasn't a good fit for them. So we pulled them, we moved to a um social emotional based school for my
everything?
kids, and it's been what they need. They needed that for their hearts. But I'm not the type that's going to sit in something that doesn't work for us. I'm going to pull up the courage, pick up the bootstraps, and make a change. So I think the change maker term is a new version of empaths looking to stay conscious and make changes and not stick in a traditional method. So
You
that's
know, this
the,
change maker has a righteousness about it,
oh, interesting.
as opposed to this is not a fit for my kid.
Mm-hmm.
Moving.
We don't need to label it.
Why do we need to be righteous about this?
I think they're trying to bring in an empowerment version of it versus, anything negative that may come from society.
Whenever you demonstrate righteousness, I'm a change maker,
Mm,
and you're pointing a finger at somebody else who's not a change maker.
that's true.
Wrong.
That's true.
Look, nothing needs to be changed.
Mm,
Everything is perfect as it is. We need to see that.
mm,
The goal is for us to shift. Now, having said that, if I were a kid, I don't think I would prefer to go to social emotional school, and I would hope my mom or dad would move me along.
yeah.
It's not that I'm saying don't make any movement to change your situation, but you want to change your situation from alignment without
Hmm.
making anyone else wrong.
Ooh, I love that. That's so, yes, I love it.
You know, like I'm a gay man, as I've said,
Hmm.
pretty much a monogamist, and there are guys who are not monogamous.
Hmm.
I can be like, oh, hello, Bob. Nice to meet you. Oh, you're not I don't need to make Bob wrong. That's not his thing.
Yeah. It's
He's
just
not
this
less
person.
than me. He's
Yep.
not worse than me. He's not emotionally, stuck.
Hmm.
He likes to play the field with guys
Hmm.
he knows and guys he doesn't know. Great. Enjoy yourself. Not for
Yep.
me.
Yep.
Don't
Yep.
need to be wrong.
Passing judgment. Yep.
Yeah, I don't need to call him a slut, if that's an okay word for your podcast. I don't need to call him a name. Go
Yeah. So I have a follow-up question.
ahead.
So instead of thinking on the change maker piece, so for me, when I had that experience of moving my kids, it was mid-year. It was a big decision. And I'm kind of switching gears here because there was something I wanted to get to with you. Um, we had felt like there was many signs that were brought to us, like this is not the right situation for your kids, and you need to do this. My husband and I, because we are so sensitive, we really want to make sure we're making the right decision for our kids before we switch schools, right? So we looked for these signs and we felt like our intuition was guiding us to this spot. And it has been. My son went from I hate school to I never knew I could love school, and he's 9. And so, I mean, it came at us 3 times, like multiple, I think it was 3 or 5. I can't even remember now, but we felt like, so I wanted to know from you, like I wanted to ask you the question, like why is honing our intuition so important and useful? I love that question and I wanted to get into that with you.
Circle around. I just had a
Okay.
conversation with a client today who was like, I want a boyfriend, a husband. She's 30 something. She wants children.
Sure.
Want that. I'm
Just
like,
feeling the
okay,
pressure.
a lot of pressure. And I'm like, do you think I'm like spiritual Santa Claus? That I'm gonna like, what do you think? So I'm like, the best way to get something is to find equilibrium with not having it.
Hmm.
that you're okay with not finding a partner and being by yourself. Yeah, but I really want one. Okay. The reason you want one, you don't want love, sweetie. That's not what
Mm,
this is about because I can feel it. You
yeah.
want validation for having a partner. You think it'll make you okay in your eyes, your parents' eyes, whoever eyes. You want the validation. You're not saying, Colby, I want to be in love, then I want to be loved.
Mm,
I want validation. Okay, great. If you want validation and your soul is paying attention to that aspect of you, it's not going to let you have your boyfriend, your partner. Because if you did get it, you would miss out on giving yourself validation.
mm,
So when you want something, you have to ask yourself, why do you want it? What part of you wants it? Why do I want my kids, in this case, out of the school? What do I want for my kids? I want my kids to enjoy themselves. I want them to
yeah.
like school. I want them to have a positive association with learning. Okay, great. Then you bring yourself into that. That's what I
Mhm.
want. And then you imagine that that is happening. And the universe will point you accordingly very quickly once you get clear about what you really want.
Mhm.
You always get what you most want. Rule one, you always get it. But if you want it too much, you ain't getting it. So, for instance, the client wants a husband, partner. That's what she really wants. So she says, but she wants it too much. She ain't getting it
Mhm.
because she doesn't want the husband. She wants the validation the husband will give her. So, my job with her is to start have her learn to validate herself.
Yes.
So, the importance of intuition, to get to your question,
Mhm.
is not to be able to hedge your bets at Las Vegas. It is not to
Yeah.
pick out stock. It is not to get your way. A lot of people in the New Age movement, self-development movement, think if they think properly, they'll get what they want, as if that's how the universe works. It's not how the universe works.
Mhm.
That's a way of selling books and classes to people. That's a way of you getting rich and then buying your crap.
Yeah.
That's what that does. If you want something, you have to ask yourself why you want it. Does my soul, does it feel like my soul supports that? Move into the energy of the having and presto change up.
Mm.
So now your intuition turns on, not when you're freaked out.
Mm.
Oh my God, I don't know what to do with my kids. They hate school. The intuition ain't going to happen because you're too afraid. And when you're afraid, you leave your body. Your intuition turns on when you move into soul desire and acceptance of that desire. Then you can get intuitive information.
Mm.
God comes with your might, might, not you being freaked out. Like people are praying to God, God, please get me a boyfriend, change my job, as if God's Santa Claus. That's not how it works. God comes when you are filled of your own strength,
Mm.
because then your energy raises and you can match a raised energy. If you're all the way down here, you can't be matched.
Yes.
Now, your angels or guides, they can come around and do some stuff, right? You're not out of luck completely. But for me, who wants to know my sovereignty, my own inner divine, the goal is to act as if I am the creator of my existence, which I am, which you are, and to bring yourself into that vibe so that your intuition can turn on and you can be moved towards what you want.
Love it. Yeah. Sounds great. That's great. I love it. And I love your example. I think that's spot on in how often we think we know what we want, right?
A lot of people don't even know what they want. Or
That's a
think they know what
huge
they want. I
piece.
don't know. Like, I don't know. I don't know. Your soul talks to you through your desire.
Hmm.
How else would your soul talk to you?
Right. Yeah.
Wah, 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 wah. That's how souls do it. Okay, so for instance, years ago, I have a lot of plants and I have a lot of fish tanks in my home. I wanted this fish tank. I saw this thin fish tank that was wall size that you could put in a
Wow.
room separately. I'm like, I want that. It was thousands of dollars, thousands, right? And God knows the maintenance and all that. I want that. But I'm like, it's too expensive. It's so ridiculous. But I really want it. I really want it. And I went looking for this thing and looking for this thing on Craigslist used and found it twice. But I was like, hey, this need to be buffed. And I'm like, hey, it's 2 years of looking on Craigslist for this thing. And finally, I heard my soul talking to me, when will you allow yourself to have what you want?
Mm.
When will you allow yourself to have what you want? Because the
Yeah.
only one who's in your way, Colby, is you.
Hmm.
And I bought the fish tank. And then other things started to come in, started to just roll in easily because I was
Mm.
finally allowing myself to have what I want.
Yeah.
So those people who feel like God or they're divine or doesn't talk to them, it's because they've refused their desires for so long. They've shut themselves down, thinking they can't have what they really want. And so they stop dreaming.
Mm.
So to your listeners, I ask you, what do you want?
Hmm.
What do you really want? What do you really, really want? Now, what do I want? I want a piece of pizza. I'm not talking about pizza.
Oh,
I'm not talking about surface level wants.
right.
What do you really want? Okay, I wanted pizza. What do I really want? Love. I want love. Third question. What do I really, really want? I miss my mother. I miss my mother. I want my mother.
Hmm.
That brings me deeper to what I want. I don't feel complete with my mother. It's true. And that brings me to my soul's desire to complete this. Our souls are always talking to us. It's whether we choose to listen.
Yep. I kind
As
of love that.
empath, we have a higher ability because we're thinner to get information.
Hmm.
How do we listen? Or do we give into, oh my God, I'm too sensitive. I got to shut myself in the house. I can't go to Costco. I can't go to IKEA. I can't go to Home Depot. It's too much.
Hmm. Hmm. Yep. Yep. Hospitals, airplanes. Yes, we have to do it. I feel like the best therapy that I could give my kids is doing it, right? Doing it and being there for them as we're doing it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
as as doing what is hard for them, like going out and doing it.
Give me an example.
So my son was very afraid of flying on a 7-hour flight to Kauai. He was very nervous. And my husband was like, what is he going to do on the plane? Is he going to lose his head? Is he going to throw things at people and have a temper tantrum? I mean, he's had his moments at home. So, what is he going to do? Do we just cancel? Like, I don't think he can handle it, Carrie. And I was like, no, we are going to go and we are going to show him that you're okay and you can do this. And we're going to sit there and help him feel safe. So that's what we did. And he
What,
loved it.
what was this? What was scary about the flight for him initially?
I think it was flying over the open ocean. The thought of being over the open ocean and what am I going to do with my body in this tiny place for 7 hours? How do I sit still for 7 hours? It was scary to him. It was intimidating. And also he has a very, very strong feeling of having everybody see him as normal and perfect all the time. So it was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with my body. And if I'm going to lose it and people will see me because there's people there, I'm not at home, I'm not safe.
Right. So what you say to me when you talk about that is what makes him feel comfortable. If his feet are off the floor, he's very scary. It's very scary. It's
Hmm.
when his feet connect to the floor that he feels safer. It is the disembodiment of
Yeah.
his feet hanging off. So anytime that he's, look, you can, sweetie, you could put your feet on the floor of the plane. It is still a floor. Just
Mm.
like on the bus that you ride to class or school, even though it's moving, it's still a floor. There is confusion between something moving still has a floor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And whenever a little tip for traveling, wear a hood.
I've heard that from others. For that, is it the
Right?
empath piece?
Covering your crown. And then I would suggest imagining there's a washer dryer dial here and turning them slowly down to low
Mm.
and opening your feet chakras. Because what you want to do is, one, on a plane, there's all this stuff floating around on the tube, right? So you want to
Yeah.
close these up and open your ground.
Love it. Yep. That makes sense to me.
Ideally, we should look like triangles, like pyramids, with the base wider than the top. Empaths tend to have a larger crown
Mm.
than ground, and it makes them feel like they can topple easily.
Yes. Yeah. It's interesting. A lot of these kids coming in, I feel like grounding is so important for so many of these kids. Feeling like you're in your I don't know how to describe it. Like you're in your human form, you're in your body and you need to ground yourself because they're up here and they're like floating around. That's my two kids. Like, woo, just where are we at? And we're always like, okay, let's ground us again. That's just it's kind of interesting. So,
Well, definitely our culture is very third eye and above, like
mhm.
very intellectual, very visionary, very creative, all this stuff. And things are getting faster and faster, and people don't have the attention span they used to, and everyone's screaming for attention on Instagram. And so there's a lot of stuff coming at us
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
And there's a difference between being centered and being grounded. Those
Mhm.
are two different skill sets,
Okay. Yeah.
right?
Yep.
People love, especially in the psychic community, being up and out
Mm.
and being able to see ghosts and dead people and aliens and all that stuff. The paranormal, that's all
Yeah.
up here.
Yeah.
But as one of my teachers would say, as you journey to enlightenment, you will be able to perceive more of the paranormal, but don't get hung up. Keep going
Mhm.
because enlightenment has a flavor of stillness, peace, and love. The people who are up here tend to not have stillness, peace, or love. They
Mm.
tend to be highly visual. They can give you information, but they're not at peace. They don't have stillness to them,
Mhm.
and they tend to have a lot of self-hatred.
Yeah.
Keeping this open exposes you to a lot of auric forces.
Mm. Interesting.
So, since this is for children, I would suggest a game called Where Am I?
Mm.
So you would stand across from your child and say, Where am I in my body? And you bring your attention to different parts of your body.
Mm.
Say, Where am I? And your kid will say, Oh, you're in your feet. Very good. Now where am I? I'm in my tummy. Great. Where am I now? Oh, you're above your head. Great. Now you do it. And you go back and forth. So the kid is used to moving his attention or her attention or their attention in different places of their body. So they learn to not always keep their attention here, or above them.
Yes. Yep.
Ideally, we want to keep our attention in our hara, 3 fingers below
Mm.
our belly button, the center of us, the
Mm-hmm.
power.
Yep. The solar plex, right? Is that the solar plex that you're talking about? Yeah.
Fingers below the belly button and in the
Okay.
middle.
Okay. Okay. Oh my goodness, Colby, we could go on forever. I don't know if you would answer this question or not. I'd be curious. Do you feel like you have a superpower?
I don't like the question.
I had a feeling. That's why I was asking. I was like, I don't know if I want to ask him this.
I'll tell you why I don't want to ask the question.
Okay,
I understand the question. I understand why you're asking the
for sure.
question. Given my gifts, people have said I have powers,
Mhm. Sure.
and the miraculous occurs around me sometimes. If I have a superpower, then I am a hero.
Mm, right.
If I'm
Elitist.
a hero and you come to see me, then that means you're a victim.
Hmm.
And you've got to give me your power to get what you want. Or I have to rescue you.
Hmm.
People who are interested in this, in the paranormal, are interested in being special because they
Yeah.
didn't feel good enough.
Yep.
And so they seek to develop superpowers. You can develop, the average Joe can develop superpowers. Absolutely. There's a way to do it. Easy peasy, right? You don't have to be born being able to see dead people. You can develop that skill.
Hmm.
You
Sure.
can develop the skill to talk to aliens. No problem. Totally. And especially if you're an empath and you've got a thin field as it is, easy peasy. Look, I can see what's not true. I can see the truth. I can see the subtle connections. I can see dead people. I can talk to aliens. Some people would call those superpowers. People are continually trying to not be human. That's the nature of that question.
Yeah.
They're trying to avoid their humanity
Right.
because they don't know what a human being is.
Mm.
What is this that we are? Okay, you want a boyfriend, you want a house. What are you?
Hmm.
Are you creation? Are you God? Are you love? What is it that we as human beings are? I am really interested in being the embodiment of a human, and I'm interested in evolving whatever that is. Whatever it is that is the pinnacle of human evolution, I'm interested in it.
Hmm.
So, what is my superpower? Stillness, peace, love.
Yeah. Love those. Could we phrase what's a better way to ask a question to know? I don't know. I'm trying to think of a maybe there isn't a better way to ask that.
Yes, then what's the intention behind the question?
To know what I don't want to say gift because I don't want to I some of us come in with different gifts, right? Or I guess it comes back to some people say what is my purpose in this lifetime? I don't
What
know.
is, what is your purpose in this lifetime?
Um for me it feels like not or helping other parents to not feel alone in raising kids like mine and helping them to connect to their kids, to help their kids be the best version of themselves, to help their kids hear their intuition when they're adults one day. It took me many steps to get here, and I think if I hadn't have closed it off as much, it could have, I don't know, been a different version. I don't know.
I believe our purpose is to become ourselves.
Yes.
My purpose, that's our purpose, to become myself, whoever that may be. whoever that is. And when I
Mhm.
say myself, does that mean God as a divine being? Maybe. The journey is not to become happy. The journey
Mhm.
is to become whoever you are. And that experience cannot be easy and sometimes is not happy, but it's
Mhm.
deeply satisfying, deeply rewarding.
Yep.
So people like to say their purpose is external. Look, I do what I do, not because I want to serve. Ugh. I do what I do because it's an expression of who I am.
Yeah.
This is who I am.
Mhm.
Here, I'm sharing who I am with you. Boom.
Yep. Yep.
I'm
Yeah.
not trying to do anything. I'm not trying to be a change maker. So, I mean, something's wrong. Nothing is wrong. I'm just being,
Yeah.
and if
Yeah.
we all were ourselves, there, the world would be a lot
Yes.
more interesting place.
I agree. So I feel like for me, I'm wanting to help these kids so they will grow up and be themselves. That's where, but I guess we're all on our journeys. I see what you're going
How
at.
about you try this? Who I am, I'm somebody really interested in being myself. And who I am is somebody who is really sensitive, and I got some crap for it.
Mhm.
And how I become more of myself is I help others who are in similar situations
Yep.
do what I couldn't do when I was their age. Makes me
Yep.
feel good because they're extensions of me. I help them. It was like it was like somebody who could have helped me. I can help them.
Yes.
That's good to me.
Yep. There you
That's what
go.
you do. So I guess the question I would ask is, what's your superpower? Is why do you do what you do? Is a great question.
Oh, I like it because they've chosen to be there.
Why do you do what you do?
Hmm. I'm writing that down. I'm going to use that.
You're welcome to do so.
Okay. What you do. I'm changing it. Thank you. And okay, so Colby, tell us how we can find you because people
Ah,
are going to want to find you. I love your
I hope so.
messages. That's
Um,
great. You bring the passion. I love it.
let's see. My website is colbywilk.com,
Mhm.
COLBYWILK.com. I have a newsletter. I send out tips and tricks and practices at
Great.
least once a month. Um, there's a lot, and my website's being redeveloped as we speak. Very exciting. So that's the best way to get in touch with me,
Great.
colbywilk.com. And I'm also on all the social channels.
Okay, great. And I can put it in the show notes. So
Please
we'll include
do.
it. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here today.
Sure.
Well, that's a wrap. Thanks so much for tuning in, Changemakers. This is Carrie. And if you haven't done a review for us, 5 stars and a little few words about what you've enjoyed in our podcast episodes, we would really appreciate it. If you guys would like to ever message me, I would love any questions you have or any feedback at info@hearttoheartlife.com. We also have a brand new website, which we're super excited to share. It's hearttoheartlife.com. Thanks so much for tuning in and happy life, happy times, Changemaker families. Bye.